live on the social media, and I'm going to do a countdown, and we're going to go live to everybody else in 3, 2, 1.
Buongiorno a tutti. Benvenuto dalla Terra Masterclass. Ciao Ilaria. Today we are welcoming Ilaria Faluga. She's here from Collio in the far, far northwest of Italy. And it's a treat to have you. Benvenuto.
Thank you, Brian. Grazie. Ciao a tutti.
Ciao. Today I wanted to focus on an area that I think relatively few people get an opportunity to go to. And it's one of my absolutely favorite stunning areas. And hopefully we'll get an opportunity today through this conversation to bring it all, make it a little more real for everybody, make it a little more familiar, and put it on your bucket list for the future. Ilaria, just before we begin, I wanted to give a little bit of background on Dalla Terra for some folks. Yeah, and then we're going to get to the maps in just a second. Here we are, Dalla Terra Winery Direct. So a little bit of background. This is our 30th anniversary this year. It's a company that I founded back in 1990 when I got out of UC Davis and was studying immunology, fermentation sciences, biochem, all that fun stuff, and got out of there after working in Napa Valley and went to go work in Italy. And that's where my world changed. My world changed working for a winery called Cal del Bosco in Franciacorta, making sparkling and still wines. Back in 1985. And so for about 4.5 years, from 85 to almost 90, I immersed myself in Italy, fell in love with it, with the people, with the stories, with the regions. And when I came back to the States in 1990, I started Dalla Terra, which just means of earth, Dalla Terra. And we focus exclusively on Italian wines. We focus on family-owned estates. And it is, it's my life's work, but above all, it's a hell of a lot of fun. We work with about 20 different producers, about 30 different wineries, because some producers have more than one winery, like Ilaria's family has 2 different wineries. We got about 60 distributors throughout the United States, and we work with a team at Dalla Terra of about 20 of us, without whom we couldn't do anything. So grazie al nostro equipaggio, to our team. But Italy's the most exciting place, at least from my perspective. It is, it's home to about 600 varietals. Our offices at Dalla Terra in Napa Valley, you know, maybe they got 10 out there, but we're working with about 600 in Italy. It's super exciting. So the green little states, the green areas here, not states, the green regions. Italy's got 20 regions, and we still have room to grow and expand, as you can see by the gray unrepresented areas of Dalla Terra. And above all, what we do is winery direct. Above all, what we do is skip the middleman, and we bring value to our customers. There we go. So with our model, as you can see, our wines are significantly less expensive than through a traditional 3-tier system. And the bottom line is we're bringing great, a small portfolio of curated family wineries to your door that in general are sustainably farmed, organic, or bio. Basta con noi, parliamo di te adesso, va bene? Okay, enough of us. Let's get on to Ilaria Faluga. So Ilaria comes, she represents, as I just mentioned, 2 different wineries that we'll get into, Marco Felluga and RUSSIZ Superiore. And this is an area that's located in northeast? Did I say northwest last time? Northeast Italy, right on the Slovenian border, northeast Italy. And it is an absolute jewel. And I just want to say a couple of words about her grandfather and her dad. And we've been working together almost since the very beginning. Marco Felluga and RUSSIZ Superiore were some of the very first wineries that I began collaborating with when I was building the Dalla Terra portfolio. We're great friends. We love spending time together. And I think what speaks most to the collaboration between our two families is that even my parents and Ilaria's grandparents became really good friends. And my mom and my dad would go out and visit with Marco and Alba, with her grandma and grandpa. And they'd go out on Marco's boat and go cruising down the Adriatic, and they just have a great time together, just the 4 of them. Anyway, it continues on to the next generation, and Ilaria is 6 generations. It's incredible. Basta. Okay. Ilaria, chi sei? Cosa fai? Who are you and what are you doing?
Okay. I wanted to thank you at the beginning for this opportunity and who I am. My name is Ilaria, and as you said, I'm the 6th generation winemakers, and I want to say a little bit of our history. So where and when we started. So everything started in Isola d'Istria, which 150 years ago was kind of under the Republic of Venice. So my family started their locanda and producing 2 different wines. One it was Refosco and the other one was Malvasia. So in that time they were doing only these 2 varieties, but then they opened their market to Grado. You know, before you saw the map of Friuli, Venezia Giulia, and Grado is on the coast and Isola is on the coast too. So they could ship the wine from Isola to Grado. So a Grado, they opened a warehouse. So it was very important. They opened their market. And after that, we are talking about between the First and the Second World War. They even opened in 1938. My great-grandfather opened a winery in Gradisca di Sonzo, where I'm right now. So this is a little bit of our story, and you know, the 2 wineries are Marco Felluga and RUSSIZ Superiore. Marco Felluga is the family name, is my grandfather. So he found this winery with his name because you maybe know that there are 2 Fellugas in the market. They stayed together, 2 brothers, till 1956, and then they decided to split out in 1956. So my grandfather found the Marco Felluga winery here, and then he fell in love with another winery. Its name is RUSSIZ Superiore. It's 10 kilometers far away from here, and it's a winery which has 700 years of history. It's a very long story. There were many, many families, nobles families during these 700 years, and they were owning these lands. And my grandfather fell in love with this place, and he was asking very persistently to the owner before. So in 1966, 67, he bought it. So it's kind of a crew because our 50 hectares, 100 hectares, but only 50 are vineyards located in 1 block. You see here some of our vineyards, and it's kind of
That's incredible, Ilaria. It's amazing that after only 10 years, 11 years later, from starting his own winery, Marco Felluga, that he went ahead and found the RUSSIZ Superiore estate, 700 years of history, bought it, and started reworking it. I got to tell you guys, it's an absolute jewel of an estate. It's an absolute. It's one of those rare places where you can make world-class reds and world-class whites. All estate grown, all estate bottled. We'll get into it later with the Relais, a place that people can go and stay. It's absolutely magnificent, and it's also the family home as well. But going back to the beginning, I just want to make people ask me a lot. They say, "Well, how's it going in Italy with everything that's going on in the world right now?" And I just want to point out that when her great-grandfather, when Roberto's, I think, grandfather, opened up in Gradisca in 1938 or whatever it was. Just remember that shortly after that, after 1938, there was a war, and World War II broke out. And not only did World War II break out, but you can see on the map down here, you can see on the bottom along the Adriatic where Trieste is, but the family was originally from Istria. So they were kind of farther down the archipelago, a little bit more clockwise along the coast. And so just think about this. So he's out here in this part of Italy, which was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And then World War II comes along, and then Istria gets annexed by what was then Yugoslavia. And here they are, they're trapped in Italy as borders start moving around. So we're looking at phenomenon like what's going on today. These families, these people, they've been through a lot worse, and they will also get through this. So just a note of positivity for people that are concerned and asking what's happening. This is it's significant, but they have the historical knowledge kind of in their genes. They're going to be able to grow and get through this. And this is a really interesting map that's up right now. This Austro-Hungarian Empire gives you an idea of the size, and you can see it also reaches all the way up around in the far western portion over into Alto Adige. And this is all Germanic speaking areas. So, and it's amazing area. And Ilaria, maybe you can tell us a bit more about it, but just from the regional areas, the geography and the geology, you're really tucked. You can see where Trieste is on the map. It's a good indication, but you're basically in the northern tip of the Adriatic Sea. You're right near an ancient Greek area, which is Grado, and some of the architectural areas that are still there today. But you're tucked in between the ocean, the sea, and the Alps. And it is amazing. What's it like to grow up there? How's it feel? Does it feel like you're in a little piece of paradise?
Yeah, sometimes yes. Most of the time, yes, actually. Because yeah, as you said, we are with the Pre-Alps behind us. So in 1 hour and a half, you can go skiing, and in 40 minutes, you can go swimming. So that's really cool. We are actually the northern east appellation with the Mediterranean climate, so that's really cool. And of course we have hot days but cold nights, and that's really important even for the grapes. And another thing that I wanted to say is that many years ago we had the sea, where now we have the hills. So that's a very important stuff for our soil, because our soil is called ponca, and this is a Friulian word. It's called the flesh, and it's a stratification of marl and sandstones. So it's very compact, this kind of soil, and the water just go through. That's a very important thing for the vineyard, because yeah, of course you see here a picture, and the water just go through, and that's very important for the vineyard because it doesn't have a lot of water. So that's really important. But one thing is that Collio, it's mainly up on the hills. So we have altitudes from 80 meters to 300 meters above the sea level. How it's about feet? Not sure.
I just multiply it by 3. It's pretty, but basically, so you're on an ancient seabed, an ancient sea floor, and it is excellent drainage. And what does the word colli mean in Italian? Because Collio is where you are, but what does the word colli mean?
Hills.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's a really amazing hilly area, and you guys are right there, tucked up on the shoulder of these amazing hills that kind of wrap around. It's kind of like the little wrinkly land that extends in front of the Alps. So when the ancient African continent slammed up into the Alps, it has created these incredible rolling hills, and that's exactly where you are. So you're moderated by the Adriatic Sea to one side, and you've got this extraordinary view of the Alps. You know, think of the 56 Olympics or something that are up in Cortina d'Ampezzo. Like you said, you can go skiing in some of the most incredible areas in the Dolomites, and you got the ocean right behind you. It's an incredible mix. And again, I highly recommend everybody going out there. It's an amazing place to visit, to tour, to explore. Some of the most incredible restaurants are out there. When we look at wines, it's always interesting to see an area and the wine and food pairing that goes on. We've got an amazing ambassador here in the United States for Friuli food, and that's Bobby Stuckey and his restaurant Frasca, which is out in Boulder, Colorado. And his whole inspiration comes from Friuli, and started this this series of restaurants at this point. With Carlin, his Somm out there, and they are just, look at this. I mean, it's just an extraordinary, it's breathtaking. And while many people are familiar, obviously, with Tuscany and Piedmont and whatnot, this is an area that is highly I wouldn't say underrated because it's highly rated, but it's not on everyone's radar. And that's part of what we want to do today is bring this out. But you can just see these beautiful curving rolling hills in the area. Fantastic. So why is this area important? And in the last, I don't know, as you've begun to look a little bit in the world, how do you see Collio, the region that you were born and grew up in that you're studying now, how do you see that as being recognized? Let's just speak about within Italy. Is it, as we like to say, is it getting any respect? C'è rispetto per Collio? Io direi di sì.
Yeah, I would say yes. Our 7,000 hectares, the Collio area, but 1,500 are vineyards. So you can even see that it's not too much vineyards. You even have some forest, some grasses. It's not overproduction. It's very good, and it's even the production. It's about if we are talking about the Collio area, are 85% of whites and 50% of reds. If we go back maybe 50 or 60 years ago, it was half and half almost, but now it's more whites. And we even produce whites like Pinot Grigio, Pinot Bianco, which I really like, and Sauvignon Blanc. It's another international grape varietal that we are growing for many, many years, but even Sauvignon, even Friulano, Tokai Friulano, and Ribolla Gialla, which is a very local variety, very important for us. But talking about reds, it's about Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Refosco dal Peduncolo Rosso, which is a local variety too, and Merlot, kind of. Yeah, I will say that Friuli, it's a unique place. We were talking about earlier. Yeah, you can go swing. You can go swimming and skiing in very short time. So it's even the cuisine. You can taste a lot of different stuff I'm talking about like prosciutto of San Daniele. It's one of the most famous prosciutto ever. It's great. It's not smoked. It's very cool. And our cheese, I mean, it's frico. I don't know if you ever heard about it, but it's potatoes and cheese, which is a very good dish too.
It's an incredible area to sit around under the fogolar and eat frico. Is just it's the best. So it's an amazing, it's a diverse area, isn't it? It's got highs and lows and hills and warm and cold and Alps and ocean. And what that really gives you is an incredible diversity and the opportunity to grow so many different varietals of grapes. You're not, as we say in English, a one-trick pony. You guys can, you excel in many, many areas. And just to summarize it, Marco Felluga, you work with wines that are primarily stainless steel, primarily in tank, that are crisp and focused, and RUSSIZ Superiore, which is 100% estate grown and bottled. You work with wines that do have some oak and some barrel age, and later on I think we have some images of the inside of the cellar. But the key here is that you have some grapes that people have never heard of before, like Refosco del Peduncolo Rosso, the Refosco with the red little part above the bottom part of the stem. That's what that means. And then you have grapes that people are very familiar with, like Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay. You have all these grapes there. And one important thing I think for folks to realize is that in some ways, Collio had a lot to do with saving the French wine industry. And when phylloxera hit France, where did they go to get new cuttings and for replanting vineyards? One of the places they went was Collio, because all of these grapes are already there, and you had one of the most important vivaista, come si chiama? Vivaista, greenhouse, nursery. That's the word I'm looking for. Nursery. Nursery. And so, which is still in existence today, and many people from around the world go to a place called Rochedo, and they can They can buy just about any varietal known to man and plant it. But the point is that Collio has been for, well over, these grapes have been there for well over 200 years and been cultivated. The grapes that I just mentioned, the international varietals. And then in addition to those, there are some that are just indigenous to your area. And we mentioned a few of those, like Friulano and Rafosco, et cetera. So you guys sit right in the middle of this. And as you mentioned, the vast majority of the wines are white. And I would say that that's some of the things that you and your father, Roberto, do to differentiate the quality of the work that you do is you're making reserve wines. You're making white reserve wines that are incredibly ageable, or age-worthy, I should say. Can you talk a little bit about what makes you dare to produce white wines that aren't even going to be released for many, many years, and that you guys believe have the structure and the strength to carry them on for decades?
Yeah, my father Roberto, starting this kind of project of Riserva wines more than 20 years ago, actually, because he always believed that whites here in Collio can age very well like reds. So he started this kind of Riserva wines. Now I'm talking about Pinot Bianco Riserva, Sauvignon Riserva, and Mongeris Riserva. And you can leave these wines there for many, many years, and you can drink them after 10, 15, 20 years. So it's kind of that here we have this saltiness that we were talking about earlier, about the sea that was here during the Oceanic period. So we're talking about hundreds of million years ago. And it's because even for the minerality that you can find on them, even the acidity, it's very good in here. We are not that much high, but you can reach some great acidities. So that's the key. And we were opening a couple of months ago a Pinot Bianco 1985, which was still very, very good. So it's incredible how this
It's been around longer than you've been around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering, because you make so many different wines between the two different estates, with two different emphases between the Marco Felluga estate and the RUSSIZ Superiore estate. So my question is, can you talk to me about one white and one red that will help us get an idea as to the philosophy of the thinking, maybe even the style of the wines that you're making? So if I was going to pick a couple of varietals, for me, it would be Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Franc from RUSSIZ Superiore. But before we get into that, I just want to make a comment. And the comment is Friuli and Collio in particular. And this goes back, I think, to the days when your grandfather, Marco Felluga, was the president of the consortio for the area. And there's been historically a lot of emphasis that's been placed on blended wines from Collio, so blending grapes. I mentioned two varietals, Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc, but there's a lot of history. You make other wines, Col d'Isole from RUSSIZ Superiore. You make Molamata from the Marco Felluga estate, but there's an incredible history of synergy, of working together with other grapes, and I think that gives a lot of structure and depth to the wines that you're able to produce. And I also think that that this idea of working with blends it carries out into when you walk out your front door and you look at the hills behind you. You're not looking at Italy, are you? You're looking at another country. You're looking at the country of Slovenia, which is right there. And so I think that idea of blends goes into a blend of cultures. It goes into a blend of languages, cultures, foods, grapes, the whole thing. So even though we're talking about two specific ones, I just want to bring that into people's minds so they realize what's going on. I'm getting a lot of feedback on the line. I don't think it's me, but lo senti o no? No, it's okay. Okay. So let's talk a little about Sauvignon Blanc. and Cabernet Franc from RUSSIZ Superiore.
Sure. One thing that I was saying before, but I want to repeat, it's that Marco Felluga has 120 hectares and are located in 4 different zones. So we are always in the Collio area, in the Collio appellation, and but even for different altitudes. So that's one point. Instead, for RUSSIZ Superiore, we have, as I was saying, 100 hectares, only 50 are vineyards and located in 1 block. So, okay, we have different exposures, okay, and but in 1 block. So all of these vineyards are there. Talking about Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Franc. So Sauvignon Blanc, as you know, is a local variety, is an international variety, but we are growing here for many, many years. And we're actually producing 3 different Sauvignon Blanc. We like it very much. Specifically, the one that we are talking right now, it's about RUSSIZ Superiore. It has from 15 to 20% barrel fermented, if we are talking about the current vintage. So right now we are out with the 2019, but we've been producing a Riserva. So it's about Sauvignon Blanc, which stays for 3 years sur lit, so on lees, and a part about the 30% is barrel fermented, not in new oak, in old oak. And then we just get the part that stayed in inox and the part that stayed in oak, we put them together, and then we leave for another year the wine in the bottle. So Sauvignon Blanc, as other varieties that we are growing here, it's coming from a muscle selection we are doing for all of our vineyards, this muscle selection, which is about you get how do you say, you get a plant, a small one. In Italian we say barbatella, and okay, you plant it. My grandfather was looking for this barbatella like 50 years ago, and we want to keep this kind of barbatella right now. So we are reproducing from the old plants the new plants. So that's, I can say that it's our, I don't know, chromosome, how do you say, it's something
we say that essentially it's, you have a diverse genetic material. So
yeah.
Every plant is, has been hand selected going back, in this case, 3 generations to your grandfather. And so over 3 generations, you as a family have been selecting which plants you want to keep and which plants you want to pull out. And in so doing, you're slowly reducing the genetic selection to plants, vines that excel in your terroir, as opposed to going with a genetic, going with clones that are all genetically identical. So that's fantastic in terms of, I think it gives you more personality to the wines. It makes your wines more identifiable, and makes them very distinctive.
Yeah, yeah. We actually, we are working with university. I'm actually studying at university right now. I'm finishing my studies in viticulture and enology, and we are working with some universities, and we were working on a project. Oh, che bello che sai, Brian, qua. We were working on a project with viti resistenti. So they were kind of vineyards that were resistant to some pathogeny. Brian, help me, please. So what they were doing is resisting to some different. Can you hear me? Brian?
Ilaria, we can hear you. Keep going.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I wasn't hear you.
No, it's
So
okay.
yeah, I was saying that we are working with some universities, and we were working to this project, to these vineyards that were resistant. But of course, our new vineyards, and even if are resistant to some enemies, I would say, they are not the biotype that we are growing. But one important thing is, for me, is keep going in knowing a lot of stuff about it. I have to say that we are not using herbicides for many years, and we even are in we are a Viva winery, which is a sustainable winery, and we always believed in that. My father was, my grandfather before him always believed in that. We are one of the first, or even the first winery that was using this kind of machine, which is an ozone machine. It works with the water ozoned, so it just use the water, and when you switch the machine on, the water gets ozoned, and it spray straight on the vineyards, and it act for this kind of ozone for 30 seconds, then just disappear. So when you go through the vineyards, you don't smell anything. So it's an amazing thing. We were trying some kind of dynamics and some different. It's not biological. It's
biological,
organic.
organic.
But at the end, we end up with lotta integrata. So it's getting one thing from one thing and the other thing from another thing, and get all together. So
you're working, we're working both things, and this idea, this ozone is it's what I guess in English you would pronounce it as ozone, like the ozone layer, and it's the chemical is, or the compound is O3, so air is O2, so it's 3 oxygen molecules, and it's highly toxic. So you can just combine this and create it on the fly and get that ozone out there, and it instantly kills mold and mildew without doing any damage, and then it breaks down into oxygen. So it's highly it's very safe. Nothing much safer than that if you can do it. No, it's a fantastic. Your dad was very excited about working with some of this technology, and I think that machine, along with the work that you do with the universities, it speaks a lot to generations of innovation, generations of creativity, all aimed at quality. It's terrific.
But you were asking me about the Cabernet Franc too, and I forgot to talking about it.
So that's the red grape. Cabernet Franc, you forgot. That's the red grape. Rosso, Rosso.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The Cabernet Franc. We produce 100% Cabernet Franc, always from RUSSIZ Superiore Winery. And it's the Cabernet Franc that we have right now. It's the vineyard is 50 years old, so it's a very old one. But the oldest make better. We say in Italian. I don't know if you have the same thing in English, but the old vineyards are the most resistant vineyards, even for when it's not raining for that much. So it's a very good one. And I was saying it's 100%, and it does for more than 1 year in oak, and then in bottle. So it's a very strong one. And the Cabernet Franc, it's one of my favorites actually. talking about reds, but it's cool. It's very strong.
I think the message
When
to
you
to the people is that Colio is not just white, is it? Colio is not just white wines. Colio makes extraordinary long-lived reds, cab. I think that one of the most distinctive wines that you make is Cabernet Franc, and your Cabernet Franc is well distributed, as are all of your wines throughout the United States. And also Cabernet Franc, at least in this country, is having a little bit of a resurgence, let's say, in the last decade plus, with the number of American wineries kind of going back to it, making it labeled as Cab Franc, and also including it more and more in some of the blends. So that's a treat. Can you let's take a break for a second from the wines and go back to what you said earlier, which is, what are you doing with your time? You're studying, is that right? You're a studentessa. I want to hear some more about this choice. Was this you're actually in university? And what are you studying? Art history? Are you studying? What are you studying over there? Cosa stai studiando? La storia dell'arte?
No.
No. Tell
I'm
us.
studying viticulture and enology. I'm at my last year, so finger crossed I'm going to finish this year. And
Volti alti.
I hope that we're going to make a great party at the end. So even for celebrating this coronavirus end, but no, scherzi a parte. I'm at the end of this studies. The university, it's very close from here. It's 40 minutes by driving, and it's one of the most of the oldest and one of the most famous about viticulture and enology. I have friends that were studying with me coming from Campania, Sicily, from Puglia. So yeah, it's one of the best.
Yeah, considering France, Germany, Italy, UC Davis, it's certainly one of the top 10 in the world. There's no question about it. How many years is that program? Quanti anni?
It's about 3 + 2. It's kind of, yeah.
My math isn't very good, but it sounds like 5-year program. È lungo. I'm just saying, it's a very serious program. It's one of the top in the world.
Yeah.
And so it's been a treat to see you dive in your studies. You've been doing extraordinarily well. And that only comes from one place. It doesn't come from papa pushing you. It doesn't come from the nonno saying mi raccomando. It really has to come from within you and your heart, which is what gives me a big smile and makes me feel really good about tomorrow and the day after and the year after, because this is your choice. It's something that you've chosen to excel in. And you've taken a challenging road and to really understand what's happening, because it's one thing just to work in your family's company. It's another thing to really understand it, literally from the radici, from the roots on up. And that's the 5-year-long path that you've chosen. And chapeau. I mean, really, it's wonderful. So congratulations on being ready to wrap this initial journey up, so you can get started on the next one here at the estate. Can you tell us a little about the two things, the philosophy of the winery? If you had to summarize kind of the work ethic, or when people are looking at your wines, what should they be thinking about Marco Felluga RUSSIZ Superiore?
One thing that I want them to think about, it's two things actually. One, it's about the nature, the thing that I was saying before about talking. I mean, we are a sustainable winery, but we try every day in getting better. I mean, not using chemicals. Of course, sometimes it's the easiest way to do things, but it's not the good thing that, of course, you want to do. My father is always telling me, you are the next generation. I want to leave you a better place. So that's one thing. And I mean, even in our small way, we can do something. So why not doing it? And the other thing that it's about us, it's showing people that whites have a life for 20 and 30 years. So that's one really incredible thing that most people don't know yet, but I would like to show better this thing. So yeah.
Well, we look forward to having you share a lot of this thing with us. I think you're the best ambassadrice that not just Marco Felluga and RUSSIZ, but also Collio can have. Your English, your desire to come and work in this country, your approach, no, fantastic. But I mean, it's a real treat to have you part of the team, part of the family, and to see that this is your chosen desire to move forward in this area, especially here in the United States. Your grandfather did an incredible job of kind of helping to form Collio, one of the instrumental people in forming Collio after World War II into the world-class wine growing region that it is today. Your father Roberto Felluga has continued that and taken and expanded on that in terms of accoglienza, in terms of being able to bring people to Collio and show them what's going on with the wine, the food, the people, the stories, the history, and the geology in that area. And so you're in a great position in terms of kind of like they said, what they've left you and the tools that they've given you to move forward with. It's going to be a very, very exciting, I think, next few decades as you're able to continue, as we say, standing on the shoulders of giants to continue to move forward. I think it's going to be very exciting. If people want to come visit, you guys have, what have you got over there? Like a couple of beds underneath a tree, or what have you got? Is there a place that people can stay?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's in the middle. You are up on the hill of RUSSIZ Superiore, and there's no TV, so you can just relax, but there's Wi-Fi, so you can always be connected. And yeah, it's very peaceful and quiet place. But you can, if you want, we can wake up at 7 and then go and working through the vineyards and harvesting and doing whatever you want to do. No, I'm saying that it's a very peaceful place, and we can do tastings and walking around, and it's about 7 rooms, so it's a small relay, but
You guys should really go check this out if you're going to be in the area. It's a very small region, so staying here at the RUSSIZ Superiore Relay is it's centrally located. Everything. It's some of the best restaurants in the area, like La Subida, probably one of the most well-known restaurants is right next door. You can ride a bicycle over there. It's a magnificent area. So I highly encourage you guys to look into that and check it. But as Ilaria just said, it's only 7 rooms. So it's pretty limited. I've got a question for you, Ilaria. So now you're wrapping up 3 + 2, 5 years of studies at the university, one of the top universities in the world. You drive your 15 minutes to class, you come back to the estate, and here's my question. Are you learning things in school? Are you talking to other students? Maybe their families have neighboring estates. Maybe they have other wineries. Maybe they have different philosophies. Are the professors at school and the students at school giving you new ideas? Do you come home and shake your head and say, Madonna, ma cosa stanno facendo qui? You've got all these new ideas, or does the work and the attention to detail, is it only now beginning to make sense now that you understand all the hard work that goes behind it?
Bella domanda. I mean, the first part that you were asking me, if I understood good, it's like if when you go and you attend your classes, if you come back and with some ideas or something like that, it was that you were asking me.
Se quando torni a casa dopo l'università, se secondo te sono cose tutte da cambiare, perché sono indietro oppure adesso apprezzi tutto il lavoro che stanno facendo? Cose da cambiare o cose da, non lo so.
I mean, you have to follow the path, because if I arrived here, it's just because of them. So, of course, but I have to say that one day I would like to try to do my personal wine. So it could be something interesting for me. But of course, I had to study. I had to learn how to make wine. That's very important. But I would like to do even, and my father is the first guy who's telling me, you have to go abroad and see how it's going on out there, and to get on your shoulder everything and go away for 1 year. So you're going to see how it's going on.
I love that idea. You and I have talked about that quite a bit. And when you're ready and everything's up and flying, you can pick where you want to go. If the United States is part of that journey, we'd love to help make that happen.
Me too.
Depending where you want to go and what you want to focus on, we'd love to help make that happen. And when you're ready to make your own wine, I think we can find a lot of people that'd be very interested in tasting your take on your family's area. I mean, 6 generations. It's a long, beautiful history of continuity, but also of innovation along the way. And I think we're all curious to see what innovations you bring to the estates, while at the same time not losing the history, not losing the radici, con tutto rispetto per il passato. But it'll be interesting to see how things grow and evolve in the future. That's really what I wanted to get. That's really the la nocciola that I wanted to hear. So are there other things that you wanted to share with us today?
No.
Okay.
I'm hoping that this situation will get better soon. I don't know how it's going on in America, but here it's getting a little bit better. And from yesterday, some shops and some restaurants open. So yeah, it's getting a little bit better.
Sort of, Italy's been a real leader. This hit your country early before it came over here. So people are looking to Italy to see how you're doing. And everyone, when I speak to people, they're always asking, how are things over there? How are your families and your producers and things working? So it's a treat for everybody to hear today that it's beginning to get a little bit better. I think for us, it's just going to be, for all of us, it's just going to be step by step, passo a passo. That's it. And eventually we will get there. Eventually we will get there. When that happens, non vedo l'ora di vederti.
Waiting for all of you.
Roberto, etc. So thank you for taking
And
the
my
time today.
grandfather, Marco.
And Marco, grande Marco. We love Marco. He's
becoming 93 this year, and he's really fed up. He's saying, I can't stay home anymore. Yesterday, he was driving to we are working on a vineyard, and he was driving to see how we are making, if it's everything okay, or he has to change something. So yeah, he's always, yeah.
I love it. Always in control, always involved. And that's the thing about agriculture, is there's lots of space, lots of people. So it's okay for him to go out there and be involved. And he certainly didn't make 93 years just to live in house arrest right now. He's out there incredibly involved. So congratulations to him and to you, and the best of luck in the coming months for this growing season to you and your family. Grazie Ilaria. Un abbraccio.
Grazie a te. Grazie a tutti.
Arrivederci. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Before we head off, I just want to remind everyone that on Thursday of this week, I'll be speaking with Marchese di Gresi, and that's going to be a real treat. And then next week on Tuesday, we're going to transition all the way down to Tasca da Marita, and our friends, it'll be Alberto Tasca, will be focusing on Etna. And then Thursday, a week from now, Thursday, 10 days from now, it'll be Sabatino di Properzio on the 28th of May, and we'll be focusing on Abruzzo and La Valentina. So more interesting things to come. Grazie. Ciao, Ilaria. Arrivederci.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.